Ciao Milanisti, it's your boy Kush in the Milan corner. And the Charles De Ketelaere fever has taken over Milan. There he is getting out of the airport. There he is sitting in his car. There he is getting out of his car. And there is Charles signing his contract with AC Milan. Now Milanisti, if you put your popcorn away after the Charles De Ketelaere saga, it's time to bring it back out because Renato Sanches to Milan saga season 2 is starting now. Latest reports suggest that Milan have an agreement with Lille and they had a meeting with Renato Sanches' agent yesterday. And latest reports suggest that Hakim Ziyech to Milan is still very much on. These are some of the stories and profiles we're going to be looking at in today's episode of Rumor or Real. Now with Charles De Ketelaere's move to Milan complete, the Belgian has decided to wear the number 90 jersey, and there's a lot of chatter about where exactly will CDK fit in this squad. Some reports have suggested that Milan might actually deploy him as a striker up front. But before I kick that off, I want to introduce you guys one more time to the OneFootball app. You guys already know it. OneFootball has been an amazing partner to the Milan corner. They have now officially decided to partner up with AC Milan. Click the link into the description, download the OneFootball app, and as a Milanista, set AC Milan as your home team. You're going to get all news alerts, all news stories. What is Charles up to? Is he having lunch now? Is he going shopping now? Everything you can find out on the OneFootball app. Click the link in the description and be in the know about the world of football. Now, before I dive into what Charles De Ketelaere's position should be in the squad, where should Milan be playing him, let me just preface by saying one thing. Guys, this is one of the biggest transfers in the history of this club, right? I think it probably sits in the top 5. There's one very important thing that you and I as fans have to do, and that is to support this player. We cannot be too hard on him if he has a couple of bad performances. Let's not forget how much faith we put in Sandro Tonali. There's going to be a period of time that's going to require a lot of assimilation. It's a completely new squad. It's a new country, new language, new way of playing, new pressure. It's the pressure of AC Milan compared to Club Brugge. So let's just be really patient with this guy for the first half of the season. Let him just find his feet. Now, I was watching Milan Weekly podcast yesterday, and Stevie P had an important point to make in the distinction between CDK and Tonali and Rafael Leao, and it was an important distinction that I kind of agree with. CDK has more experience. He has the experience of winning a title, multiple titles in the Belgian league. He has the experience of playing in the Champions League. Sandro Tonali did not have any of that. So the pressure on CDK is higher. But at the same time, guys, Tonali is Italian. He grew up in the culture. He grew up in the system. He understands it already. CDK doesn't. He's a complete foreigner. So let's just be patient with him. That's all that I ask. 1 or 2 bad performances, don't start killing the guy. Now, jumping to what role will he actually be playing at Milan. So if you look at his actual profile, Charles De Ketelaere is a central attacking midfielder. He also has the ability to play as a right winger. However, last season at Club Brugge, they actually deployed him mostly as a striker. So with Milan already having signed Origi, having issues a hole behind the striker, and having limited amount of strength on the right wing, where exactly does Charles fit here? See, for me guys, it's very simple. When you make one of your highest ever transfer budget payments, I think you have to bring on the player and play him in his most preferred position, in his best possible position. And that is behind the striker. We all saw how much Rafael Leao struggled in the 2020-21 season. Milan kept playing him and starting him as a center forward. He was pretty close to being a disaster. And in the next season, Milan plays him in his actual role as a winger, second striker, as a left winger, and suddenly he's the MVP of Serie A. Now, I'll link in the description a very interesting article by Sempre Milan where they pretty much detail out how Charles De Ketelaere actually played last season for Club Brugge. Here's what Charles is good at according to that article. He's very good at finding that pass. That one pass that penetrates through and can potentially get you a goal. The only player reading that reminds me of is Kaká. Do you remember the 2007 Champions League final when he made that pass to Pippo Inzaghi, the second goal that he scored? Apparently that is what Charles is good at, finding that final pass that can get a player on goal. And we have a massive thank you to Paolo Maldini for that. Multiple reports revealed that Milan have actually been tracking this player since 2019. Recently, he had interest from Milan, Leeds, and from PSG. But once he heard from Paolo Maldini, Charles's mind was set. He wanted to come to Milan. So for anybody who's been having problems with Paolo Maldini's decision-making or execution, Milanisti, if you don't believe in him now, I don't think I can help you. Now, what exactly is going on with Renato Sanchez's move to Milan? So it looks like the links are fully back on. Milan have actually possibly made him a priority target for the central midfield. I think Milan probably sees the fact that he still hasn't made that move to PSG. Now, think about the Botman issue. It was Milan and Newcastle United. He decided to go to Newcastle. They found a deal with Lille. At this point in time, Renato Sanches is still waiting around. So Milan feels like, hey, you know what? If we can still get this central midfielder to this club, even though maybe his motivation to come to Milan is not as much as it was before, he'd still be a pretty good pickup. So Milan has probably rightfully decided to not take this too personally that, oh, you know, he hasn't fully accepted Milan's move. He's still thinking about PSG. So the latest is this. A couple weeks ago, it was reported that Jorge Mendes, Renato Sanchez's agent, wanted to find an agreement last Wednesday with PSG, but still nothing has happened. He's still waiting around for them, so the links with Milan are back on. Milan apparently had a conversation with Jorge Mendes yesterday, and at this point in time, Milan have an agreement with Lille around that 12 to 15 million range, but they're still missing that agreement and that acceptance from Renato Sanchez. Now, on the rumor or real meter, I think I'd completely call this unlikely, but at this point in time, guys, with the kind of reports that I'm reading and the intensity of these reports and the fact that he's, again, still not joined PSG, I think this move becomes possible now. And maybe even with the confirmation of the CDK move being complete, Sanchez may be tempted for a move to Milan. So I'm gonna call this possible now. And now if Milan doesn't sign Renato Sanchez, we're looking at a profile of Carney Chukwuemeka. This is a profile that Nicolo Schida said that Milan has already made an offer for. We haven't really heard anything since then, but here are a couple things that we do know. One issue is he doesn't have a lot of senior level experience, but his quality has been noticed by a lot of top clubs in Europe. And even though his contract expires in 2023, Aston Villa is still asking for a pretty sizable transfer amount. They want a move in that 15 to 20 million range for this player. So right now, Milan have taken a backseat on the Carney Chukwuemeka deal. And this is where I kind of want to ask you guys, would you rather have Renato Sanchez in your squad, a player who hasn't fully committed to Milan, doesn't feel like he wants to actually be here? Or would you rather have an 18-year-old Carney Chukwuemeka with limited experience, good upside, and bring him into a really young AC Milan squad? Make sure to let me know in the comment section. Which brings us to Milan's defense before we jump into the Hakim Ziyech story. It's an odd thing, Milanisti. Suddenly the Japhet Tanganga links are cooling down. It looks like that move is difficult for Milan to pull off. There's a disagreement between Milan and Tottenham. Milan wants a loan, Tottenham wants a permanent deal. Milan wants a loan with an option to buy. They want a loan with an obligation to buy. So that move is becoming difficult, but it still stands there. Milan have potentially made Abdou Diallo of PSG as their primary defensive target. Only thing with Diallo is the same problem that Milan has with Tottenham. Milan probably are going to want him on loan. And if Milan were to purchase him, it's probably going to be somewhere in the range of 10 to 15. Some reports even suggested 20 million. So once again, I would want to push it off to you guys. Diallo has a decent bit of experience with PSG. He's a decent quality center back, but knowing the limitations of Milan's transfer budget, do you think this move happens? The Abdou Diallo move at this point in time, guys, I'm gonna still stick with unlikely on that. I don't know if that move is gonna happen. I think Milan's probably gonna bring some young center back on loan only. Unless PSG agrees to a loan move, I'd be really surprised to see Milan spend 15 million on the center back. And then we also have Japhet Tanganga. At this point in time, the Japhet Tanganga move, based on the current reports, in the previous video, I had him as possible. I'm gonna have to downgrade him to unlikely too. Based on the latest reports, it seems like it might be an unlikely move now. Which brings us to Hakim Ziyech. Milanisti, the Hakim Ziyech links are very confusing because media reports now have to sell a big profile. Hakim Ziyech is really the only big profile after Renato Sanchez. And you're gonna see a lot of conflicting reports, but what I can tell you about the Ziyech move is this. Milan having signed an attacker, having signed Origi as a striker, having signed CDK as a central attacking midfielder, and attacking element, they're now going to be looking to replace Franck Kessie in the central midfield and Alessio Romagnoli as center back. Seeing how systematic this Milan has been, I have a hard time believing that Maldini's next profile is another attacker. And that's what the latest reports are suggesting too. First comes a replacement for Romagnoli or for Franck Kessie before Milan looks at another attacking profile. Now at the end of August, pretty much what we expected last summer mercato, at the end of August, Milan will see if Hakim Ziyech is still available. Chelsea realizes he's going to be sitting on the bench completely out of favor with their coach. And Ziyech is tired of what is happening at Chelsea. Then Milan might swoop in, force Chelsea into a low price transfer, more likely a loan move where Chelsea covers parts of his salary. So on the rumor real meter, this particular story makes sense. I'm going to upgrade Hakim Ziyech from unlikely to possible because if that is the solution where Milan goes at the end of August for this player, I can still see it happening. I think it's possible. But for the next couple weeks, it's all about a central midfielder or a center back. There you have it, Milanisti. These are some of the stories and profiles we wanted to look at today. Charles De Ketelaere is finally a Milan player. Let's take a huge sigh of relief. We have our high profile central attacking midfield option. And now it's time to trust Paolo Maldini, Enrique Massara and Moncada and the rest of the management to build the remaining of the squad. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the bell notification so you can watch the Milan Corner videos as soon as I upload them. Follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at the Milan Corner. And as always, Forza Milan, grazie mille e ciao tutti!